Hey, Mercy Church, it's good to be with you at Community Group. My name is Scott. I'm one of the pastors here, and this is the first week of our All to Him series in Community Group. We could not be more thankful that you are here joining us in this conversation. We're doing this a little bit different. We're adding some video content just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page in this series because it is such an important topic. And I'm here with Pastor Spence Shelton. He's going to be helping us think through just some really key, important items week by week as we go throughout this series. So, Pastor Spence, welcome.
Hey, thanks, man.
It is good to see you.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you a question. So we just finished our first sermon in the series. So from this first sermon, what are your hopes for the folks of Mercy Church that they take away from this first sermon as we kind of get into this series?
Yeah, it's good. Guys, here's what I'm thinking. This opening sermon sort of set up what I hope will be a really good season of discipleship for us. And I want it to be based around, we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about giving, going to talk about generosity, stewardship, all these things. My hope is getting started is that Romans 12, 1 and 2 verse becomes your lens through which you see generosity, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we could, depending on your background and everything else, you could give for any number of motivations or be reluctant to do so for any number of motivations. What we want to do is set our hearts on, and the eyes of our heart, use scripture language, on the mercies of God. So Romans 12:1, in view of the mercies of God, therefore, in light of that, I urge you, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, right? Which is your whole life. And so this question that I want to drive us, and so week one has got to really we're locking in around it, because it's going to take a while and a lot of prayer to discern where God's leading us, is because He gave His all for me in view of the mercies of God. What does it mean for me to give my all to Him? That's give my whole life as a living sacrifice. This is my act of worship. And one of the things on that is worship is something we give.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we give praise, right? And the same thing is true with our stuff, with our resources, with our money. We give that in light, that's an act of worship, is that giving that's got to be done in light of who God is and what He's done for us.
Right.
That's my hope for week one.
Yeah. And I think, if you're sitting in this living room right now and you're wondering, okay, I've got to give my all to Him, that seems scary, especially as it pertains to money. And, and as we're talking about money or generosity or finances, it can feel awkward. Yeah. Especially, you might be sitting in the room right now feeling like, oh man, are we really about to dive into money and generosity? That feels a little bit weird. There can be different emotions tied to that. Pastor Spence, what do you say to the person that might be sitting in this community group right now that's just scared to death to talk about this subject?
Hey, you are not alone. My goodness. I mean, how many times have you and I pastored people through conversations where they're like, it's like discipleship, I thought, stopped at the water's edge of my wallet.
Right.
It's like, no. If everything, here's maybe a little bit of you can ease the burden a little bit, ease the tension in the room a little bit. God says that everything in the world belongs to Him, and every good thing we've been given, go over to James, is actually every good thing we have has been given to us from God. So your money is not actually yours.
Right.
Your money has been given to you by God, and you are, the Bible uses a bunch of different language for it, but let's just call it a steward. You are one who is there to use it for this brief period of time you have on earth. So the reason I say we can let the tension, kind of ease the tension a little bit, is we're talking about what God, the one who gave it to you, says to do with it. So this is a really good, instructive, I think it's going to be a very formational time for everybody in our church, because we are learning together what God says that we are to do with the things He gave us. So this is different than if you're like me, around the dinner table at Thanksgiving, there's two things your parents taught you not to talk about: politics and money, right? Because everybody has different views and everybody has different amounts. But this is not the Thanksgiving table with extended family for that reason. This is the table of the church. And we're here to disciple one another as God's representatives to one another, using the Bible as the authority to say, okay, what has God said we're to do with this? My hope is, if you've never dealt with this before, this is a safe, and I hope will be actually life-giving, breakthrough type season for you. I know it has been for me.
Yeah. And I think as it pertains to generosity, you know, with our time, with our talent, with our treasure, what the scriptures seem to draw out for us is a need to live a sacrificial life.
That's right.
And so I'd love for you to maybe dive in a little bit just on, are there some areas in scripture where it talks about sacrifice, where it talks about you know, how we ought to think about surrender? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, man. So, guys, one of the things that I wanted to kick off our time with, just to make sure we're on the same page with this whole idea of all to Him, is I want to give you a couple of spots, one from the Old Testament, one from the New Testament, to show you that the Bible's teaching us all the same thing. This living sacrifice is the language of Romans 12, 1 and 2. And when we think sacrifice, you know, you go to the Old Testament, we bring up Abraham and Isaac, and Abraham was called to give his one and only son, echo to the New Testament, of course, his one and only son that he had prayed for, that he had longed for, basically his most prized possession, if you'll grant that, the thing that he loved the most. He had to trust the Lord with it.
Right.
And in that sense, he gave his all, because he gave his whole heart to the Lord in giving his son up on the altar, and then the Lord met him there. He trusted that the Lord would provide, and the Lord provided. Rich, beautiful gospel illustration there, of course. You go into the New Testament with the widow in Luke 21, and she gave all that she had. It didn't compare to the amount that others gave, but it compared in the Lord's eyes. He said he celebrated her because she gave her all. She sacrificed. And so this is what we're bringing up these two to say, man, what the Lord does not want is, he doesn't want our leftovers. Right. He wants our first. And maybe the way to say it is, if you've been living life where you're spending and your saving has been driving your giving, this is going to be a season where we flip it. Yeah. And we're going to say, what if your giving drove your spending and your saving? Because it all belongs to the Lord. So I'm a sacrifice first to Him, and then after that, that's going to determine how I spend and save the rest of my life. So this, I think, will be a very formative season for our church when we flip those two things and see what the Lord has for us. Yeah, Pastor Spence, those are some really helpful ideas. Listen, we're going to transition to our community groups now for you to have more discussion on these items, because this is where it happens, right? This is where conversations go so that we can process. Listen, thank you so much for being with us. You are sent.